We're an extremely competitive family. Like, we can't play a game of Uno without it getting competitive. I mean, hours and hours of playing horse in the driveway, and who can win, and chalk it up as who had. I mean, we keep track of who won. Races in the street, competition 24/7. Everything we did.
A family battle. We always just battled all the time to who could be better. And Ralph always seemed to think he was the better one. Like I said, we could play a car game, a race, anything turns into a competition. Who could be better doing at it? Who can be the top.
Having 4 kids like that grow up in the same house is who's better at what, and they battled each other all the time. And it was pretty impressive when the boys would come to play tag football or touch football in the yard, and they would pick Shelley before Ralphie. That would upset them pretty much.
It's always been that way, and even to this day, it's that way. It's like, why someone beat you, or But I always, though, I always looked up to him as my older brother. I always, admired him and everything. But I always knew I can go to him for anything, and I always knew he'd take care of me.
Ralph's really kind. He's really a giving person, and genuine.
Ralphie is just a person that he likes to do. He likes to do for them, and he likes to see something great happen to them.
As a young kid, you could just see how he wanted to just do for other little boys or other little kids or help somebody.
You always knew what you were going to get from him, and he was very serious at all times. I don't ever remember him just being fun.
He was skinny, scrawny. He used to get really mad at me because I would be outside. I was a big tomboy, and I'd be playing outside with the kids in the neighborhood, and I'd always win, and he'd always go in the house crying.
We interrupt this program for a brief rebuttal from tonight's honoree.
Well, I'd say that never happened. She probably did beat me in a race when I was younger. I matured late in life, and well, yeah, she did beat me, but I don't recall ever going in the house crying. Well, the question I'd ask both Shelley and my father, who insisted Shelley was the best athlete in the family, is how many varsity letters do you have? I think the answer is 0. So there is no objective or concrete evidence for you to indicate that you were the best athlete in the family. And unfortunately for Tracy and Michael, it's the same. Good athletes nonetheless, nothing to prove that they're the best in the family. The reality is, I don't recall crying when I lost. I know I always hated to lose. And that's probably the message they were trying to give you. But it certainly sounds better to them to say I ran in the house crying.
We now return to the regularly scheduled presentation.
Ever since the 1982 basketball team that went to the States and unfortunately lost, and Ralph went to all the playoff games with me, he became incensed with becoming a Newcastle Red Hurricane.
Yeah, all I ever wanted to be as a kid was a Newcastle Red Hurricane. It meant more to me than anything, and it taught me a lot.
Newcastle, man. Just that bleeding that red and black, and having like that, just the Newcastle like pride and, just value in that, I think that he values it like to a T, and it's very deep with him as it is with all of us.
I'm actually getting chills thinking about it now. I mean, it's a special place. There's no other town like Newcastle. I mean, you can go anywhere in the country, and the fans are just genuine, they're authentic, and everybody knows each other, so it makes it even better.
Now, I didn't go to school to teach anywhere but Newcastle. I didn't go back to school to be a principal anywhere but Newcastle, and I never wanted to coach anywhere but Newcastle. It's because I felt, somewhere in me that I could help Newcastle kids, that I could be effective here.
I mean, deep down, he's a nice person. He has a kind heart. He really cares about his players a lot, cares about his family. He cares about the people in Newcastle, just the community and all. I mean, I've seen him done a lot for the people in Newcastle, not just the player, just people outside of here, knowing they don't have nothing. And he really emphasizes that a lot, that you don't know what people are going through, and we're getting the best of it.
But I love what it was, and I so bad would love to see it be that again. And I think that that's kind of been the ultimate goal this entire time. How do we get back to what it was like when my father was taking me to football games in the 80s?
Tell you about it? Well, he proposed to me in a house that he bought down the street from his mom and dad. So He loves Newcastle, and he loves his family so much that we live 3 doors down. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, he loves Newcastle.
Well, I think anything that I am, in any way positive or negative, comes from my parents. You know, and that stems from, I have great grandparents too. You know, so being able to observe not just what my mom and dad told me every day, but being able to observe good every day. And you know, my father was a person of accountability, and there were no excuses. You know, you did it right, or you were told, and he really wasn't concerned about how you felt.
Ralph is very much his father because they just think alike. They do everything alike. They even eat toast alike, down to the little bits that they leave in the dish and that. But just strong-willed, no second guessing themselves. Make a decision, that's it, done.
So I would say that a lot of what I do philosophically comes from that. I mean, heck, my grandfather he's the second recipient of this award. He stormed the beaches of Normandy. You want to talk about being on a team? That's a team.
One bit of advice I gave him that he didn't take, I'm glad he didn't take it. I advised him not to take the Newcastle coaching job when a group of his friends and he came to me and says, I think I'm going to apply for the Newcastle coaching job. And I says, are you crazy? You just had your 4th child, you just got promoted to an administrative position at school. I know what you're like. You're going to want to give everything 100%. And if you take the coaching job, you can't give all 3 things 100%.
That's a true story. But you know, I was the head coach at George Junior. I was 25 years old. I didn't have an assistant, and I was probably a bit of a maniac. That's the truth. It was the only thing that mattered to me. I didn't even know what was going on in the rest of the world. Nothing mattered to me but George Junior basketball, and he could see that, and he didn't like the way I had no balance in my life. So I understood his perspective for sure, because he saw it firsthand the first time.
And then his wife called me and says, I can take care of the home front. Don't worry about that. I'd love to see Ralph coach. He really wants to do it. So I said, well, if he wants to do it, tell him to go ahead and do it.
Kate's the key to all of this. I don't know any other way to say that than just simply she is the key to all of this. I mean, she's the perfect wife, the perfect mom, the perfect team mom. She has never once in 10 years made me feel like inadequate as a husband or a father, when I know at times there's no question that I have been, especially when we're on those really, really deep runs. I certainly I lose my balance in those moments, because when you have those opportunities, man, you're 10 toes in, you're just trying to get it done, you know. So she's incredible.
This was his dream from the second I met him. That's what he wanted to do, and I couldn't begrudge him of that.
I think he is willing to do the uncommon things. He has a philosophy, but a lot of people have a philosophy, but he's able to articulate it, coach it, and then carry it out. And that sounds simple, but that's pretty difficult to go from the genesis of the idea to the actual implementation and the buy-in by the players.
Yeah, 10 years ago we had a meeting in the principal's conference room. I had all my coaches there, and the first thing I said to them was, I don't know if we're going to win a game, but I do know this: if we do, we're going to do it the right way.
There was probably 10, 12 of us in that first meeting, and he said he wanted to do this thing the right way. So we talked about what it took to be, what he envisioned to be a Red Hurricane. And we talked about 4 things. One, have discipline and respect on and off the court, be extremely coachable, being a great teammate, and then playing extremely hard.
The message was that we weren't going to let winning dictate our decision making in terms of growing kids and helping kids get to where they need to be in order to be successful for the next 60 years of their life. And the last thing that we said is, we will determine the success of our program by what our kids are doing 5 years after they leave us.
His impact reaches far beyond these walls. And I think he does an outstanding and tremendous job of bringing this community together. And he wants you to be the best possible coach you can be. He wants you to be the best possible player you can be. He wants you to be the best possible student you can be, you know, and represent this community the right way. And that's all he truly cares about. And when these kids leave us, I said this in the, you know, at the beginning of last year for the newspaper, when these kids leave us, we don't want this to be their defining moment. We want bigger and better things for them, and I think Ralph stresses the importance of that.
There's just enormous strength in numbers, and when you're together, like, a lot of things occur. Beyond winning, it's the process in getting there. So when you're together, you're holding each other accountable. You understand that it's not just me, it's us. And you understand that if I make a mistake in school or I don't perform academically in school, I pay, my team pays. My future family pays. So when we try to create foresight, forethought, we try to get ahead of everything for the kids. But together makes you accountable.
I think the meaning of together here is, you know, learning how to win as a team, how to grow as a young man together, and, you know, sometimes you lose, and then whatever you're going to do after this, you're learning how to do that in a positive way. And that was the meaning of together for, you know, coming out of the Newcastle program.
This word has meant so much to me. It's meant so much to me over the last 4 years. The way that you just come together, the way that you guys believe in one another, the way that you care for one another. That's the piece I get that I don't know that every other coach gets. I don't know that they get that, but we do. And that's why we're willing to do things on that court for one another that other teams won't do. Selflessness, character, integrity, all of that is what together is all about. And for one more night on the western side of the state, and for one more night, we got to be together more than ever, stronger more than ever. And tonight, I say we do this for our community. I say we do this for the people who have traveled 300 miles to Chambersburg, some of them spending the last dime to get on a bus to buy a ticket, to support you because the Red Hurricane is strong, because they're from the Red Hurricane community, and they're as part of this as anything. Let's do this for the community. Let's be special tonight. Let's get out.
It was always about teamwork, you know, so like that helped me, you know, a lot to grow as a man. Just being that, you know, it was surrounded by such young boys and we all grew to men together, you know.
The willingness to hold your teammate accountable and be okay with saying this isn't the Red Hurricane way. And get a response from the player such as I know. Not, man, you're not going to tell me how to act, you're not going to tell me how to play, you're not going to tell me how to perform in school. No, they all know that the expectation is the same for each other and they're all willing to accept the criticism that comes with it when they're not meeting the standard.
Kids have to understand that it's not just about them. You know, they got to be selfless individuals and selfless players, both on and off the court. You know, when they're in the classroom, whether walking in the halls, helping another non-student athlete. You know, just being a great human being, and that's what we stress to these kids. It's so important.
I look to my right, I look to my left, and we're all the same. I mean, I'm playing for this guy, I'm playing for that guy as hard as I can. And I think that's the biggest thing with him, is he made it known that, hey, it's not just one guy or two guys, it's everybody together. I don't care if you're a starter, you're a bench player, we're all putting in the same effort and we're all doing the same thing together.
That's my guy. He, like I was saying, I only played one year for him and then I played JV at that. And like, you know, there's other guys like Markel and all them, you know, played big minutes for him, you know, real important role. But he's never made me feel anything less like as I was on the team.
I think what made him so good at what he does is he understands how to approach each different kid. Not every kid is coached, or you don't get the best out of every kid by doing the same approach.
Ralph sees things in kids that they don't see, and he pulls that out of them somehow. And there are other people that can't. He just can. That's what I mean about he has this gift. But what he sees in that kid or that student, because it's not just basketball, there could be 30 other kids here telling you, he just listened to me, and I mean, it's just what he does.
He's put in the required effort to understand where his players are coming from by reaching out to people like my dad or Brian Rice or other people. I think it comes back to that passion. And he understood that if I want to have an impact here, I have to learn more. I have to reach out to those people who are in the community. And that's what he's always done. He's never been afraid to ask questions. And
it's a demeanor that, you know, he's just able to, there's something about him that he is able to, no matter who's in the room, that he's able to grab their attention and get the most out of every single person in there.
Well, and I think that's what Newcastle brings, you know, that you get all walks of life, every kind of kid with all different problems, all different blessings, whatever it might be. So I think it's important to understand those things. And, you know, if I sat there and said, you know, I treat all the kids the same and the standard is the same, that's not the case. The expectations are the same, but the route we go to get there could be different.
My younger brother's in the program now, Jonathan, and Jonathan's like my shadow. But me and Joe are different in some fundamental aspects. So it was interesting to see Coach Blundo's logic of, you know, I wanted to push him the way I pushed you because Joe's been around the program since he was 5 years old. He's been able to see what you went through. You know, Joe would eat pizza with us. He'd watch film. Jonathan has experienced it. But me and Joe are just different. And to treat him like me would be wrong. And Coach Blundo admitted that. He said, you know, I need to be more patient with him. And that statement alone is probably one of the greatest things my dad ever taught me. The humility of a leader to say, the way I want to do it is not working. I need to try it a different way, is what separates good leaders from effective leaders. And I believe that this coaching staff and this program, they're effective leaders.
What people don't see on Friday nights and Tuesday nights is what he's doing for the kids.
Once we really found out who he was and how he treated players or how he cared about them, it just came naturally. He definitely was another person like I said before, you can contact anytime, reach out to, after school, after basketball practice, anything.
You just know that he would do anything for you. And when you know that, then you give him everything you got because you know it's genuine. And I think that's one of the best things about Coach, and everybody sees that, so they give him respect in return.
Whatever he said, I bought into because I knew from things off the court that I trusted him. Just that relationship that you build off the court, like I said, everything translates onto, and it just becomes a brotherhood.
I remember my 9th grade year, we was down in Beaver Falls for a summer league game, and I found out my dad went to jail, and I really didn't want to play that game and stuff. And Coach Blundo was like, "I just want to let you know I'm here for you. I could be that father figure for you." I mean, it's like hard for me to say that being your coach, but if you ever need anybody, I'm here for you. And from that day forward, that's when I really put my trust in Coach Blundo. I really appreciated that a lot, and we had a tight bond ever since then.
Mr. Blundo is, like I said, one of the most selfless person I've ever met. He will yell at you, but he's not going to yell at you in a rude manner. He's going to yell at you so you understand responsibility and you understand, you know, how you should talk to people or anything. He straightens us up and he makes us better people just by one conversation. He's that person.
He gets a lot of pushback because Coach Blundo can be, for lack of better words, a mean person, but a lot of times it's what the kids need, and he understands that.
One thing that sticks out to me about Coach is, you know, how tough he was on us as players. I think the reason he was like that is because he wanted us to succeed so bad in life. And one thing we appreciate most about Coach is he wants his guys to succeed whenever we can no longer win another game for him. And not every coach is like that. You know, Coach has that special thing about him. He cares about all his guys. He's not afraid to have a conversation that you don't want to hear. I think everybody needs that growing up, going through high school, going through college, and even going through life.
He humbled me when I needed to be humbled, you know. That made me work harder for everything else that I, you know, got coming my way. You know, I just You know, hard work is what I live by now. For me, I feel like he lightened up to these kids. I feel like he's soft now. He got that. I know he got that weakness in his heart. I mean, he's getting a little older, but
when he first came in, we knew it was going to be tough, but I think we all wanted that. Just based on growing up and playing for certain coaches, you know, we knew that we were a really good team and we had some good talent, but we just needed the right guy to put it together.
I would argue that that's probably the best way to go about it, because in my experience, tough love was the reason that, you know, you got a state championship. You know, Malik has a great deal of success. Malik's going to do great things. Coach Blundo was extremely hard on Malik, and that is what pushed him to where he is today. And it's not that his mom didn't help or that his, you know, brothers and sisters didn't support. Of course his family helped, but this program played a big part in that.
Yeah, he was hard on Malik sometimes, but he was trying to pull out, I think, the potential he saw in Malik. My relationship with Ralph, you know, we're like family, you know what I mean? And for him to step in that role for my son needed more than just a coach. He needed someone to be a father figure for him, and you know, Ralph played that part for him. So, of course, he was hard on him at times. He was hard on Marcus and Markel also.
You know, some people, it's like a job to some people. You know, they go there, put in their time and go home. Coach Blundo, he is Coach Blundo all the time, 24/7. You can always count on him.
Well, I don't think that there's too many kids that have a relationship with their high school coach where I'm calling him once a week just to BS and catch up about his life and fill him in. More importantly, ask for advice. I mean, when I call him, it's usually for something, just advice, because I value his opinion so much. And vice versa. I'll get a phone call on a random Tuesday night or a text message just checking in. Hey, everything good?
I know firsthand. I had a son, Anthony Richards, played on the state championship team. That's 5 years ago. There ain't a day or week, there ain't a week that doesn't go by that I know that he calls Coach Blundo to talk about career choices, life choices, things like that. That's the culture that was built around Newcastle basketball.
There's not too many. I know friends that tell stories about their coaches or how they are, and I'll tell them my stories about like Coach Blundo and who he is, and they'll be like, "Wow, really?" Like they'll be shocked, and to me, it's like natural. I'm like, "Wow, your coach didn't do that for you?"
Quite frankly, not too many people in Newcastle understood what I was going through. Coach Blundo began to learn Navy's system so that he could help me, because there were a lot of times where I was struggling. Like, Coach, I don't know what to do. And he went out of his way to find out some answers, to learn a couple things so that he could help me.
We have these 2 rocking chairs, these white rocking chairs in front of our house. And if I could tell you, I'm gonna start to cry. The number of times that I'll come home and there'll be a former player sitting there. He can't do one more thing for them now. But they'll still come and ask him, you know, now they're getting married and having babies. And when I see that, I think, oh my God, look what he did. He still has all these relationships. My kids have relationships with these kids. I don't just have 4 kids, I have a lot. Well, they're all sons, you know, but they will always be a part of our life.
Still our guys long after they can't win us another game here at Newcastle. So, yeah, if those rocking chairs could talk, man, you know, there's been long, deep discussions about life and about what's next and about, you know, just personal things or college or girlfriends or, you know, whatever it might be. But those are moments that I treasure. And frankly, maybe the best part of being the head basketball coach at Newcastle are those days that those guys come back to either play with your kids, sit on those chairs and just talk.
As we've grown up, it's like I get a new set of brothers every year. It's a new set. And it doesn't matter where we're at, if we're in public, if we are in church, wherever we're at. If I see one of them, anyone that has ever played for my dad, they come up to us, give us a hug, you know, ask how we're doing, always checking on us. They're best friends. Gary Fair's my best friend. And everyone knows it too. Gary Fair's my best friend. I'm on FaceTime with him every day for like 30 minutes. Because he went to college, so they have separation anxiety now. And Michael Wells is my best friend. I feel like his whole entire point of being a coach is not about winning games. Everything's doing in life the right way. everything is to be done the right way. His whole philosophy is doing things the right way and taking that extra step, whether it's in school or sports or family, like anything. He always just wants us to take that extra step. Like today, he dropped me off at practice, and last thing he said was either that or he said, "Don't let anyone outwork you today." That's what he said. He says it every time.
There's a scripture verse that talks about entering through the narrow gate, and that really epitomizes, I think, what he expects of. He's often talking about being uncommon. You know, you can do it this way, or you can go the tough way, and that's what he's always emphasized.
Being uncommon is kind of what this program has been about. Like I said, we're trying to prepare them for what's next. So it's real important to us that we're teaching them in a way and coaching them in a way that'll make them a little bit more comfortable when they leave here, a little more ready when they leave here. So I don't know that it's, we don't talk a lot about goals. We really talk a ton about process. We've had a special run, gentlemen. Beyond special. And when I tell you you're built for moments just like this, see what happens with teams is they get the moments like this and they say, I'm gonna turn up and we'll play unbelievable tonight. It doesn't work that way. I built you for a moment just like this. The toes on the line, the suicides, the challenging you mentally, to majoring on the minors. All of those things were to build you for a moment like this. You don't have to change a thing. You don't have to say, I'm going to do this different, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be a red hurricane tonight. And when it's all said and done, you're going to put an exclamation point on your work that'll last a lifetime. Let's go.
He's trying to make a good man first, because at the end of the day, on the span of your lifetime, that 3 or 4 years of varsity basketball is going to be so small. But the stuff that you're bringing, that he has taught you, you're going to use that for the rest of your life. And some of the stuff that he's taught me, I'm going to teach my kids as well.
And his standard was so high that that's how I live my life now. You know, I want to set a standard that's so high that I'm working towards it every single day.
He changed my life completely. He made me a better person because, during high school I was still trying to figure out who I was as a person, and he held me to a high standard. So because he held me there, I decided that that's where I'm gonna be. I'm gonna hold myself to that.
I don't think I'd be in the position where I am today if it wasn't for Coach and, having those tough conversations with me and just the little things he taught me all throughout being a player for him.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes talks about transactional leaders and transformational leaders. And transformational leaders is what you see in the Newcastle program, because they take kids who were young, dumb, stupid, but ambitious, and they turn them into young men who have the knowledge and skills to go on to the next level and be something, and hopefully have a family one day, and produce kids that are able to go off and be something. That's really what this is all about. It's really not about basketball, like you said. It's about that transition in life, that we're no longer young kids, we're young men. So
the discipline on the court, the character on the court, and just the way they conduct themselves off the court is really unique and special. And just as a fan and as a 1982 graduate, it's really really something to be very proud of. And just the values that Coach teaches these kids, not only while they're there, but his concern for them, once they graduate, just speaks to him as a consummate professional. I mean, he's really has impacted this community.
I want you to understand something, and what I said to you before the game about being built for this moment. Okay, this is a lifetime of this for you. Success is forever for you guys, because winning and being great is deeply embedded in your spirit. It's so deep in there that you can't help but be successful for the rest of your life. Hallelujah! I'm proud of that effort. How we gonna do it together?
They just thought of every possible way to take care of their players. And I don't know if it wasn't pity. A lot of times I think people want to believe that Coach Blundo feels bad for the young black kids that he has, and it's not. It's that he cares deeply, and he understands that he's been blessed to live a fortunate life, and now that he's giving back. It's good that he's getting this award. It's good that there'll be an opportunity for people to see his players talk about what he's done for us, both on and off the court, because that is the bigger picture of Ralph Blundo.